They didn't just pass an income tax in Washington state, they may have just blocked your ability to vote on it. Within 24 hours of the bill being signed, a referendum was filed, and the state shut it down before it even started. Not rejected by voters, not failed on signatures, blocked. And the justification? They say the Constitution allows it. Tonight we're breaking down what just happened in Washington and whether your vote still matters. From Seattle to Los Angeles, this is Left Coast News. No apologies, just the truth. Welcome back to Left Coast News, where we don't just read headlines, we break down what these policies actually mean for you, your rights, and your future here on the West Coast. Tonight's story is one of the most important constitutional fights we've seen in Washington state in years. Because this isn't just about a new income tax, this is about whether the government can pass a law and then shield it from the people who are supposed to have the final say. So what happened? Old Governor Bob Ferguson signed Washington's new income tax bill into law. The bill creates a 9.9% tax on income over $1 million, set to take effect in 2028. Almost immediately, opponents filed a referendum basically saying, let the people vote on this. But the Secretary of State, Steve Hobbs, refused to process it. Not delayed, not reviewed, refused. Because the state says the law is exempt from referendum. The constitutional loophole. Here's where this gets serious. Washington's Constitution gives the people the power of referendum. That's your check on the legislature. But there are exceptions. Laws can be exempt if they are declared necessary for public safety, public health, or the support of state government. And inside this income tax bill, lawmakers inserted language saying exactly that this tax is necessary for the support of state government. Translation: they may have written the law in a way that prevents you from voting on it at all. Legal versus reality. Supporters will say this is legal. The Constitution allows it. And technically, they're not wrong. Courts have often deferred to the legislature on these clauses, but here's the real issue. If lawmakers can declare any bill necessary for government support, then what law can't they protect from a referendum? Taxes, regulations, gun laws, energy policy? At that point, the referendum power still exists on paper, but not in practice. Why this matters. Let's strip the politics out of it. This isn't about whether you support taxing millionaires. This is about process. Because once the government can decide which laws you're allowed to vote on, you don't really have direct democracy anymore. You have controlled participation. And that's a dangerous shift, especially in a state like Washington that has historically relied heavily on initiatives and referendums to check government power. The second battle. Even if the referendum is blocked, the fight is far from over. Opponents are already preparing a legal challenge, and that opens a second front. Can the state block a referendum this way? And separately, can this income tax survive constitutionally at all? Because Washington has a long legal history rejecting graduated income taxes. So now this likely heads to the courts, possibly all the way to the Washington Supreme Court. Step back and look at the pattern. Across the West Coast, you're seeing expanding government authority, increasing taxation, and fewer direct checks from voters. And when those checks do exist, you're seeing more efforts to limit or bypass them. That's not speculation. That's what just happened here. This is bigger than one bill. It's bigger than one tax. The question is simple. Do the people still have the final say in Washington state? Or can the government pass laws and decide for itself whether those laws are allowed to be challenged? Because if that line gets crossed, you're not just losing a policy fight, you're losing the ability to have one. If you want real breakdowns of what's happening in Washington, Oregon, and California without the spin, follow Left Coast News. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Brighteon, BitChute, and all major podcast platforms, including leftcoastnews.net. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay ahead of what's coming next. If you care about what's happening here in Washington and across the West Coast, make sure you're following Left Coast News at leftcoastnews.net. We're going to stay on this story as it moves through the courts because this one isn't going away anytime soon. Also, drop a comment below and let me know what you think of this removal of the referendum process. I think they could use this on many different fronts. Like I mentioned, the gun rights, energy, whatever. This is wrong. The power should still lie with the people.